Have you ever heard of Colin Cowherd's? Do you watch Colin Cowherd?
A little bit.
Yeah. Have somebody made a video or like a impression of him of how he goes, welcome to Los Angeles or welcome to Maryland. This is the Herb wherever you may be watching or listening on iHeartRadio and Fox Sports Radio. Pretty good. I was thinking about it and I was just thinking of how impressive it is that these like commentators like come up with all this stuff and how it becomes like, I wonder if they just do it on a random day or if they like actually come up with it themselves.
Yeah, well, that's funny that you actually brought him up. This is a side story kind of. It's funny you brought him up. I actually have something to say about him in a little bit. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pertaining to one of our topics. So.
Oh, yeah. So so you've been in your dungeon because you're in tax season. So if you don't know, Jake is a tax accountant. And once again, this is the Off Script Podcast. I'm Matthew King. This is Jake Morris. Jake is a tax accountant, so he has been in his dungeon working. So how's that going?
You know, honestly, right now it's at the part right now where I'm like in the grind mode almost, and like I'm almost enjoying it. Like I'm busy as fuck. Like I'm working 12 hours plus a day, like that sort of thing. But like I'm still in the point where I'm productive. Like I'm not like wore out yet. So vibes are good right now. But come talk to me in about 2 to 3 weeks once these deadlines are like here, and it might be a different story.
And that's gonna change, yeah, for sure. I was wondering because you're just in there until like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. If you don't know, we do live together, and it's just I know that this time of year, like usually, like you're just super busy, not doing much.
Yeah. At least I haven't made it to any like 2 o'clock in the morning sort of nights yet, but they're coming. They're coming.
And we have upgraded some of our stuff, so we have been trying to mess with these like mic stand things so we don't have to hold them anymore, which is kind of nice. But like Jake said before the podcast, it's kind of weird like not having to do that. And then we also
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Exactly. It's like I feel like I have to talk with my hands at this point. So we're going to start off with our videos of the week. So this one that I have pulled up right here, Jake, if you don't know, if you were just looking at this video, you would think that this guy plays offensive tackle for Georgia. This kid is actually in high school. He is 6'5", 270 or 300 pounds, something along those lines. He is a 5-star offensive lineman that is committed to Georgia. And
good Lord, looks like freaking Tyron Smith out there.
Yeah, Georgia must breed these people different because, this guy is from Georgia. But, I mean, how do you even scout a guy this big? Yeah. Because he's going against kids like half of his size. So like, how do you even like scout this guy and be like, oh yeah, he's really good. But all the defensive linemen and all of the edge rushers are all like half his size. Yeah. So how are you like, well, he's big and they're all big in the SEC.
Yeah.
So
well, I don't know if you remember Brian Brise, however you pronounce his name. He was the #1 recruit. And I can't remember exactly what year it was, but he went to Damascus High School right here in Maryland, went to Clemson, was a D tackle, and went in the first round of the Saints as I think he's playing D tackle for him right now.
Oh, really?
Like he was the same way where he was just like bigger than everyone else and just like throwing people all around on the field. But it's like, how can you truly scout a kid like that?
Right.
Like I guess it's these camps that they're going to like during like the off season, like during the summer and stuff. They're like they're like, okay, this kid's got the talent, he's got the IQ, like. And he's got the fundamentals, I guess. So like I guess that's the best way that they can tell like he is ready for like SEC football. Well, in Brian's case, ACC football.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's how do you put this kid? Like, look at all the kids next to him.
I know they're all just super tiny.
Yeah, they look like you. Like,
yeah, they are actually. No, they're actually my size. Like those kids are probably my size. Like, imagine being an edge rusher and having to go against this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you even prepare? Like, I know the coaches are in their ear. Like, you can do it. Like, all you got to do is just like get under his legs. You have to army crawl.
That's a great coach. But honestly, would you want your coach being like, okay, we get it. It's going to be a tough outing for you today?
Yes.
Or do you want him hyping you up? Like, you got this, like, you know.
I don't know. I don't know what I want my coach. I mean,
Davis versus Goliath sort of action. Like,
well, and you know, the kids at school, like the day of the game, they're just like, you know, you have to go against them and they're all in your ear like, are you really going to do anything today? Like, you know, we used to play against teams like in high school or whatever, and you know we'd lose. Yeah. And people throughout the day are like, well, why would I even come to the game? Like, we're gonna lose anyway, so it doesn't even matter. So moving on to your video of the week, heartwarming Eagles Jason Kelce runs 5K to raise money for autism.
Yep.
Wow, you had a sweet video this week.
I did. Okay. I've been rolling with the funny ones, but and even last week I think both of ours featured Jason Kelce.
Yeah,
funny enough,
it did
at the after party.
Yeah.
But this one is just it's so awesome, and now that hopefully he's on his way out, he's not playing for the Eagles anymore, not confirmed.
He is a free agent.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as he's not playing for the Eagles, like if he's done for, like I can finally root for this guy. Like I love Jason Kelce, like I love the personality he is, but it's hard to root for him because he plays for my rival, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice heartwarming video. I mean, the dude is just, I'm more looking forward to what he does outside of football than what he was doing on the football field.
He's definitely going to be a commentator.
Yeah.
Like for sure. I think I saw a report that he was already looking into being a commentator for Fox Sports or something along those lines. So great career for Jason Kelce. Very heartwarming video to get us started today. And there is one more tweet that I did want to bring up. So I actually got a response from Lamar Jackson. So I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. I never thought, so I've gotten some interactions with some professional athletes before and some big time people like we've talked about with the Bussin' with the Boys. I'm one of the only people on Twitter who has interacted with Tom Brady as a fan, which is funny. I've never seen him do that. There's probably 2 or 3 people that he's interacted with, but I did a tweet and I'll pull that up too. But the one that I want to show today is the conversation, the very short conversation that I had with Lamar Jackson. And so this past weekend, Lamar was tweeting at every single person possible on Twitter, it felt like. So I was like, well, I need to jump on this. So I did. And for some reason, it keeps pulling up a different one. But anyway, I'll pull up the tweet now. So Lamar was just tweeting about the season, like how they're going to be in the Super Bowl or whatever. And he was just like how upset he was about the whole situation. I said, dang, you're on one today. And he said, like Drake. Yeah. And then Jake texted me right after and he was like, no shit that you got a response from Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I literally saw it like 3 minutes after he posted or he responded back to you. And I was like, no fucking way Lamar Jackson just responded to you.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was like one of those situations where like I got the notification, but I get notified whenever he tweets because I put on his notifications after he requested the trade out of Baltimore. So I was waiting on something else to drop where he's like, oh, I'm actually not going to do a trade. So that's why I have his notifications on. But it was a good thing that I did because I was able to respond very fast. So Lamar Jackson is confirmed a Drake fan, if you didn't know that. And really quick, I want to talk about the Chiefs parade before we get into it. So this episode, we're going to talk specifically about the NFC East and some other NFL news. I want to start off with that division just because Jake's a big Commanders fan. We didn't get to talk about them a lot this season, but also there's a lot going on in that division, you know, with the Commanders having the second pick in the draft and the Eagles and how their downfall, the Cowboys really need to turn it around. So we have chapters in this, so if you want to skip through and just go to the team, if you're one of these teams' fans, you can do that. But I want to talk about the Chiefs parade real quick. So there was a shooting at the Chiefs parade, which is very, very sad. I was pretty caught off guard by it, but I wasn't surprised, which is pretty sad in itself. Like, I'm actually surprised that there has not been a shooting and you know, no funny stuff intended. Like, I'm actually surprised that they have not had a shooting at a parade. Do you think that teams are not going to have parades anymore or have a different style of parades because of this situation?
I think the parades will still be a thing and they'll still happen, but I think 1,000%. And like I'm in the same position that you are, that I'm surprised it hasn't happened before. Like, this is not new to this country and it's fucking unfortunate. Like, it's absolutely like disgusting. Like, I don't know exactly what needs to be done. I'm not a fucking politician, like, but it's ridiculous. Like, you're there, everyone is there celebrating their team. And well, if you weren't, like, why the fuck are you there? Right. If they weren't fans of the team or whatever, like, why are you there? And I'm tired of this whole culture of people, whatever happens is they resort to pulling out a gun and trying to end the life of another person. Right. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, people, get your shit together.
Yeah, I'm just caught off guard, surprised, sad. Like, I just don't know what politicians can do, but they need to do something. So I don't have a resolution. That's not my job, but I feel like the people that we put in those positions should be able to come up with something to be able to end this shit. Like, we should be able to go, and especially with a team like Baltimore who was close to making the Super Bowl. Like, imagine if that happened in our city. Like, that's super shit happens in Baltimore anyway. So this would be a prime spot where shit like that might happen, which fucking scares me, because I'm like, me and my girlfriend were talking about, and we're like, wow, like, if the Ravens won the Super Bowl, like, we were going to go to the parade. Right. And it's like, now I'll be scared to do it. What I think they should do now, which sucks, is I think that they are going to just have the parade inside of the stadium, and they're going to have to buy tickets. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm surprised that's not a paid event already that has more security, but you would assume with all the police officers, but you can't maintain, like, millions of people who are at this parade. So
that's one of the biggest parades I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
like, the
exactly.
Chiefs fans showed up for that.
Yeah, for sure. And it was all ruined. I mean, there was cool videos throughout the entire thing, like with Patrick Mahomes, and Chris Jones went on there and said, I'm not leaving, like blah, 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 blah. You see a lot of that shit at parades when they get some alcohol.
I know we talked about how we're not really a fan of him anymore, but Travis Kelce, that motherfucker was hammered.
Dude.
And he was hilarious. Did you see him trying to do the Lombardi luge?
Yes.
And the cat was on the bottle?
Yes.
And his mom had to come over and take it off for him.
Yeah, he's a freaking menace. But he was hanging out with a bunch of like different Chiefs fans, and it made me see the other side of Travis Kelce outside of football. So it kind of made me, I know that we talked about last week, he's becoming unlikable on the field, but he is starting to become, outside the field, like he's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get started on some NFL news first. So I want to talk about Antonio Pierce. So Antonio Pierce had some really, really, I should say, interesting words this past week about Patrick Mahomes. So Pierce talked openly about the Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, the same way the Pistons used to play Michael Jordan, with relentless and physicality. Pierce also said, we got to knock off the head of the snake. 15. So he's talking about Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously talking about the bad boy Pistons and how they go against Patrick Mahomes. Your thoughts on these comments, because some people are taking it out of context and making it a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's the problem is that the Raiders didn't even make the playoffs, and he came out and made comments like this, but he was a team that beat the Chiefs.
Right.
Like, one of the very few teams. I mean, what, they have six losses this year?
Yeah.
So like more than we're used to, but like you would never expect the Raiders to beat them. And like, I don't know, it's like Max Crosby, I just feel like kind of has Patrick Mahomes' number in a way, but like it's just a guy who is, I wouldn't say he's trying to tear down, but it's like he is one of the teams that beat the Super Bowl champions. So like, I think exactly like you said, it's just being taken out of context completely.
Yeah.
Like I think that's all it boils down to.
Yeah, for sure. And why not have that mentality? Like, it's football.
It's
like,
a team in your division too. Like there's a rivalry already in place there.
Right. And people are taking into context saying like he wants to hurt Patrick Mahomes. Like, come on, dude. Like, want to hurt Patrick Mahomes? Like, no, he wants to show that they're a physical team, and they're going to, I mean, they beat them this season and they really shut down Patrick Mahomes. He also said in the podcast that he had a formula to actually stop the Chiefs. And I'm like, well, you kind of did, because you stopped them the first time. I don't think Patrick Mahomes, or who was it? It was the quarterback of the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell. Mm-hmm. He had like no passing yards in the second half, I think, of that game, and they still won the game. So it's like, why can't he talk his shit? Like, I would want to get into the head of these people as much as I can. But some people are actually saying that it's like a bounty gate at this point, and they're going to be looking for it next year. Pro Football Talk, I don't know if you see his stuff, but he is a very, he does a lot of conspiracy theories about football, and he actually got his NFL credentials revoked because of shit like this. So I guess he's on a whirlwind of just trying to pull out all these conspiracy theories.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Another NFL news update is Justin Fields went on to the Amon-Ra St. Brown podcast and he was talking about unfollowing the Bears. So if you don't know, Justin Fields unfollowed the Chicago Bears on Instagram. This is still a thing in 2024, and it can be a big thing sometimes, especially with Justin Fields potentially getting traded. Do you think it's a big deal that Justin Fields unfollowed the Bears on Instagram?
I do not. Of course, I don't know. I just don't understand what the actual like what the whole thing about this is. Like, first of all, people following Justin Fields and seeing that he unfollowed them, fucking weird.
Yeah,
just
how do people know that?
Yeah, like people do it with celebrities all the time. Like they're like, oh, these people are like they're feuding because they unfollow each other. That's just fucking weird. But he also said in it, he said he just wanted to take a step back from football in general.
Yeah,
and he said he didn't just unfollow the Bears. He unfollowed the NFL account. Like he was just trying to take a step back. At this point, like I'm almost wondering if like NFL teams or like even their agents are like telling them like to do it to like make controversy like this.
Maybe.
Like I don't know. Like I don't know. But
it'd be a smart move.
Honestly,
in all reality.
So I don't know, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like especially if what he said is true. Like he was just trying to take a step back from football. Like he's been in this controversy for pretty much this whole year now. I feel like ever since.
Yeah, it's been talked about ever since week one.
Ever since the Panthers pretty much guaranteed them the #1 pick. Like Caleb Williams is coming to the league. We think he's gonna be the next Patrick Mahomes. Like of course that controversy. And as the starting quarterback of your team, like that's got to be frustrating. That's got to be annoying. So I don't blame him for just wanting to take a step back. So if what he said is true, then I don't blame the kid at all.
And then every single week, like if you're having a bad week, right, they're going to bring up, oh, well, Justin Fields isn't this. Like it's a lot of pressure on the kid. I really feel like getting a new scenery in the NFL will really help him. I feel like Atlanta is the best fit for Justin Fields. We'll get into that some weeks. So every week we're going to do different divisions and talk about different things in divisions. So we'll get to Justin Fields in the Chicago Bears division later on down the line. Some other NFL news. There was a report that Big Dom getting suspended from the NFL for the controversy in the 49ers game actually hurt the Philadelphia Eagles. And he was actually supposed to be on the sideline to help calm Nick Sirianni. Do you buy this bullshit? That's a real report that Nick Sirianni and Big Dom was there to help him be calm on the sidelines. And apparently it really turned around their season when Big Dom was suspended.
And that's why
it was reported as that. That's what it sounded like to me.
The report says that's why the Eagles were so bad.
Well, not necessarily, but it said it played a part.
Interesting.
Security guard.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been on a sideline. Like I maybe that is an important thing, but no. Like that did that come from an Eagles like fan or some shit?
No, it came from a Eagles reporter, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is wild.
It is kind of a crazy coincidence that like as soon as
they
he gets suspended,
sucked, right?
And it's like that's when they really started sucking. So
yeah, I'm kind of like buying into it a little bit. Like I'm like, well, at one time it's like, yeah, that's bullshit, like a security guard, but maybe I think the 49ers game just fucked them up in general. Like the Big Dom situation happened, but also like getting manhandled after winning big games against Buffalo and Kansas City, like that can mess you up.
And it's also like they just kind of got humbled pretty much, saying like, okay, we are not the big dogs in the NFC anymore. Like the 49ers,
it hurt their confidence.
100%. I think there was too much going on with that Eagles team in general to put something like that and be like, oh, it's because of Big Dom.
Right.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
If we want to throw a 0.01% of the reason why it was a downfall, sure, we'll agree to that.
A 0.1%. So hopefully Big Dom is on the sidelines. He was in my video last week, him at the Super Bowl, which was pretty cool. Last NFL news is Dynasty dropped on Apple TV. Have you seen it yet? It is the documentary about the New England Patriots dynasty.
I have not. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. There was only 2 episodes out. I don't know if other episodes have dropped yet. But really good actually so far. It talked a lot about Tom Brady in the early years, and Drew Bledsoe's on there and talked about his experience. And like there was some shit that I didn't know about the Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe stuff. All I knew is that he like took over, but you should watch it. It's actually really good. I won't spoil it for you because I just didn't know this stuff, and I don't know if you know this stuff either. Okay. All right, so let's get into it.
Quick side question. Are you a Harry Potter fan?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched Harry Potter for the first time ever this past
weekend.
weekend.
All of them?
Not all of them. So we got through the first 5. So we still have 6, 7.
Holy shit, that's a ton. These movies are long.
Yeah.
They're not short.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into it, but anyways, like we decided that on weekends, whenever me and my girlfriend hang out together, we came up with this idea to write activities on popsicle sticks, and we decided to pull them for this weekend. We pulled 2 of them. One of them was the Harry Potter movie marathon, because I've literally never seen one of the movies ever.
Oh wow!
Like ever. And so then Friday night we watched the first 2 or 3, and then Saturday night we watched the next. So we watched 2 on Friday night, 3 on Saturday night.
What'd you think? Initial thoughts?
Phenomenal
I love
movies.
Harry Potter.
Fucking phenomenal movies. I am so sad I missed out on that as a kid.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I am already at a, like, I haven't even apparently seen the best one yet. Like, I think like one of the 7s or both the 7s are like the best.
Yeah, the
ones.
later ones are really good.
Yeah. So I haven't even gotten to those yet, and it's already probably number 1 on my, like, at least movies of like series, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta watch. Well, you also have to read the books too, like afterwards, like the really long books.
I don't know about that one.
But trust me, you'll become a huge Harry Potter and like Star Wars were like the 2 things for me, like growing up. Like I love Harry Potter. I'm glad that you're cultured now. So that was a good update. That's a really good update. All right, NFC East time. Let's go through the NFC East division and give our number 1 free agent that will go to this team. So I'll let you start. Let's start off with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, so for the Eagles, I was split on this one. So regardless, I think secondary is where they need to make their splash play at. They were god awful in the secondary. So right now, I would say their best option is Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
Go out and get a guy like him. The other guy I was thinking of was L'Jarius Sneed, but I think Jalen Johnson is probably the better cornerback, just purely. And I think that's who they should target.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had L'Jarius Sneed as well. I was thinking Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's good because the Eagles were actually looking into trading him during the trade deadline this past season. So I could see him, but I felt like L'Jarius Sneed, just because of not having the injury issues that Jalen Johnson has had in the past, he's had some nagging injury issues. Also, L'Jarius Sneed is one of the most bigger and physical corners in the NFL, and I feel like they need that on their defensive side. Like they need a corner that can tackle, because Bradbury cannot tackle, and neither can Darius Slay. So they need someone who can get into the box or blitz or go, and I feel like L'Jarius Sneed in that Chiefs system was really good at being so physical and being versatile in his role. And honestly, like, with Howie Roseman, like the Eagles don't have a lot of cap room, but he is such a wizard. He'll be able to figure it out. So that's what makes him one of the best. I can't believe that they're only losing like a couple free agents, maybe Harrison Reddick too, to a trade, but I can't believe that they're barely losing anybody. I went through their free agent, like the people that they could lose, and it was like nobody. And I was like, whoa, I guess they can just build on it, but they only have like $12 million in cap or something like that. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys. Who should the Cowboys sign this offseason?
So I almost went the same direction because Stephon Gilmore's a free agent, so it kind of depends on whether he stays or not. But I went with they just need a solid like middle linebacker, off the ball linebacker. So my 2 picks, I'm doing 2 for most of these. But my number 1 would be Levante David. I feel like he's a good like field general. He's still I know he's a little bit up there in age, I feel like, at this point, but I feel like the Cowboys defense needs someone to step in and take over like that veteran like role that can speak up and take control of all these playmakers, because they've got a lot of talent on that defense.
Yeah.
It seems like they can't pull it together.
For sure.
And I think that the Dallas team at the beginning of this year was very solid when their defense was good. So someone like him can step in and attribute a lot to that defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So the Cowboys are in a very unique situation because they are $21 million over the cap. They can part ways with Michael Gallup and save $10 million. So they have a bunch of different things that they can do. But here's what I think the Dallas Cowboys should do is cut Michael Gallup and get the $10 million. They can extend Dak Prescott and they can get $26 million from that. So then they'll be fine. And then they should cut Leighton Vander Esch, and then they'll get another $2 million from that. And the reason why I say that is because the person I'm about to bring up is a big free agent. So I think they should go and sign Christian Wilkins, who is the defensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins. He's really great at rushing the passer. He had career highs in every single pass rushing statistic, and he's one of the best run defenders in the NFL. And I feel like the Dallas Cowboys really need someone up front. I was thinking linebacker as well. They really need a run stopper. They don't really have anybody on that defensive line, and that's exactly what the Packers did. Did you see what Micah Parsons said on his podcast with Jordan? So he brought Jordan Love onto his podcast like 3 weeks after this shit happened and talked about the game. And Micah Parsons asked him, what did you guys do to beat us? I'm like, dude, this is fucking weird. Like, you guys are just having like a regular conversation like about this. I'd be kind of hurt.
Did Jordan Love actually
he broke it down. He was like, well, what we did is, and he was like awkward about it. And they was like, well, we just ran the ball on y'all. And he was like, honestly, you guys don't have anybody on the defensive front that could stop the run game. And I was like, damn, bro, this is fucking weird.
Right in his face, too.
Yeah, right in his fucking face. He was like, all we did was chip block you, and then we just stopped the run up the middle. Yeah. And I'm like, why? I would just never bring someone on who just beat my ass in the playoffs. Like, that would never be.
Especially that soon. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so what about the Giants?
So Giants, this is a weird one because this also depends on free agency because it kind of looks like
draft.
Kind of looks like Saquon. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because it looks like Saquon's on his way out.
Yeah,
it does seem that way. So right now, I would say with Saquon still on the roster for now, I would say that what they can benefit from the most is like a number one receiver. To be honest, so I have Mike Evans. I also put Michael Pittman Jr.
Okay.
Because Michael Pittman, he's not like, I don't think he's proven himself as a true wide receiver yet, true number one at least.
Right.
But he's much better than any of the guys that the Giants have right now. And my point to this is that I don't believe in Daniel Jones, but like all he has right now is Saquon, in my opinion. Like Darren Waller has not worked out to what he was supposed to be. Yeah. They've just got a lot of like pick and like place sort of like wide receivers right now. So I think they could truly benefit from that. And it'll also give them a lot of, I mean, I think we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it'll if they bring in a rookie QB this year, and this is like the last year that Daniel Jones has to prove himself, I think they could benefit from having a number one wide receiver to rely on.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I went with the number one receiver.
So for the Giants, I actually went wide receiver as well. I went with T. Higgins though, so they really need a big body wide receiver. They're not as high in the cap space world as you would think. I think they're at around like $19 million in cap space, but they can make some moves and make it happen. Of course, I personally think they're going to draft a quarterback. So what better way than to bring in a number one wide receiver? It was the same thing with Joe Burrow. Every time that I think about it, everybody's like, well, we should go after, an offensive lineman. Well, first of all, the offensive line and free agency, the guard position specifically, which is what the Giants need is interior offensive linemen. They don't have a lot of that in free agency this year. So I think you go after the receiver and try to fill the gaps for the offensive line in the NFL draft, just because the NFL draft this season is known as like one of the best offensive line drafts and wide receiver drafts. But with that 6th pick, they can go with quarterback, then they have the receiver, and then later in the drafts, they can go after offensive linemen. All right, so favorite one, Commanders, let's do it.
All right, so this one, I was in my bag. I literally had 5 different names I wanted to do, but one just stuck out to me, and more because of the circumstances that happened this past season. So I'm going to go with Danielle Hunter.
Okay.
As the guy that I want us to go after.
That one's different. That's a way different direction than what I went.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my thinking here is that, I mean, obviously we just cleared house at pass rusher. Montez Sweat gone, Chase Young gone. I feel like every good or solid team in the NFL has at least one guy that can rush the passer very well. Like you think of pretty much every team that was in the playoffs this year, they had at least one guy that was doing it very efficiently. So Danielle Hunter really played his ass off this past year. Like he was very solid, had a lot of sacks, and we need that. And if the thing is like Jonathan Allen, I don't even know if we'll have these guys come next year, but Jonathan Allen, we'll have Daron Payne. Jonathan Allen seems like he wants out. But those two were playing great when we had Montez Sweat and Chase Young. As soon as they were gone and no one was rushing the edge efficiently, like they vanished. They were nowhere to be found. So to get everyone else involved on that defensive line, we need a guy like Danielle Hunter that will consistently rush the passer and actually get sacks for us.
Yeah, for sure. That one's actually a good pick. I went the defensive side, but I didn't go pass rusher. I thought maybe they would address that in the draft. So I went with cornerback. I feel like they really need a solid cornerback after Emmanuel Forbes and how he did last season. And the Commanders gave up the most passing yards in the league and also gave up the most points. So I felt like they need a lockdown cornerback, and I actually went with Jalen Johnson. I feel like he's a perfect fit for Washington. Washington has $85 million in cap space. They could honestly go and get both of those guys and fill the holes on defense. I think that they'll go offensive heavy in the draft this season because I think they want some fireworks for the new ownership, and they want to basically make the rookie quarterback feel like he's safe with an offensive line and also have star receivers, which they already have a ton of star receivers anyway. So I went with Jalen Johnson. So talking about the Commanders, who makes the bigger jump next season, the Commanders or the Giants?
You know, I might be a little biased in saying this, but I have a lot of belief in this upcoming season, and I know that's going to fuck me in the end. But I like looking at it. We have the second overall pick, and we're at this point. It seems pretty much certain that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, which I know we've shit talked him the whole time. I'm still okay with the Bears taking him or whatever. But we're going to get Drake May or Jane Daniels. I think that's a lock at this point. We have to go with a quarterback, and then as you just mentioned, $85 million. That's the second most going into this offseason. That's second most out of any other team. So we're able to finally start building this roster. We have new ownership. We have a new GM. We have a new head coach. I'm excited for once in my life. I feel like.
Don't get too excited.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to mitigate it, but the coaching staff is very solid, and Cliff Kingsbury, although didn't work out in Arizona, is a king at developing quarterbacks. So for him to be stepping in with a first-year quarterback and with all the cap space to build around him, I think we're really going to go heavy on building the offensive line, protecting him. And as you said, we have some pretty decent weapons. I'd love to see us get another a tight end because Logan Thomas, he's not working.
Yeah,
out
maybe
for us.
Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, that's another guy. He was one of the guys that I was debating on, but I don't know. We're literally at ground zero right now, so the only way we can go is up. But so that's why I think they make the bigger jump. I think unless the Giants, and as you said, they don't have a lot of cap space going, they can't make a ton of moves. So that's why I think that the Commanders are gonna have the bigger jump.
Yeah, I'd much rather be in. So there's always comparisons about which situation is shittier, and you look at the Commanders and the Bears compared to the Giants. They're actually in a better position than the Giants are. I know the Giants made the playoffs 2 years ago, and then they have Daniel Jones coming back. He was hurt last year, obviously. But how are you excited as a Giants fan? You have the number 6 pick, but if you bring in a quarterback, is he actually going to be good in this offensive system with no offensive line, possibly no receivers? They could fill it out and make it look nice, but their defense, they're bringing in a brand new defensive coordinator. They're not that talented on that side of the football either. In my opinion, with Wink Martindale, and I know a lot of Giants fans are going to say oh, we're really talented on defense. But let me tell you something about Wink Martindale. I dealt with him for 4 seasons. All he does is bring a lot of blitz and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and you live and die by how that goes. So the Giants would play well against quarterbacks and against teams who were not great against the blitz. But with the Giants in general, I just feel like they're not in a great situation. Like I said, when I looked up their cap number, $19 million compared to the Commanders' $85. The number 2 pick in the NFL draft compared to the number 6 pick in the NFL draft. I feel like the Commanders are going to take a jump from this season. I don't know how much of a big jump, but I feel like they have more room to improve than the Giants. I feel like the Giants hit their ceiling and the Commanders are not even close. So yeah, for sure. Now, who makes the bigger jump? The Philadelphia Eagles or the Dallas Cowboys?
See, this one was a much tougher decision for me.
This one was hard.
Yeah, but so the way I'm picking the Eagles. I think that they're going to make the bigger jump. I like the Kellen Moore move. I do. I think it's iffy because his play calling, I don't feel it really fits the players.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I actually put that down.
I think it's 100% an upgrade from Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
that is what I will say. Than Brian Johnson. Yeah, exactly. So I think Brian Johnson was a huge problem for the Eagles this past season. And if I'm going to be honest, I feel like Dallas is just this past season is the best that Dallas can do. They were very solid during the regular season. But then once again, just absolutely flopped in the playoffs. I feel like this was probably at least with the team they have right now, almost the ceiling for the Dallas Cowboys. I I expected them to be a lot closer of a game against the Packers, but not for them to get blown out. So that's why I think the Eagles are probably going to have the bigger jump. Like they have the team to win. It's just they just had some trouble last year.
Yeah, for sure. I said the Eagles as well. The Eagles just Howie Roseman is the reason why I think they'll make the bigger jump. It's like, what GM would I rather have, Jerry Jones or Howie Roseman? It's undeniably Howie Roseman. Like Howie Roseman, what he is so good at is hitting all of the areas that he knows are weak. And Jerry Jones just goes out and gets luxury items, it feels like. It never feels like, it looks like they're always trying to go out and get a splash play instead of what the Eagles do. The Eagles do make splash plays, but they do it at positions of need. It just feels like Jerry Jones drafts really well, but he's not great in free agency. So I just trust Howie more and the Eagles and how they are bringing almost everybody back from last year, and then they can build upon that and they can restructure contracts. They're losing some guys who were on expiring contracts anyway to make room for it. So yeah, for sure. I think the Eagles, they were 10-1 last year. Like they weren't a scrub team. They made the playoffs and they were just as good as Dallas. They beat Dallas at one point. Like Dallas and the Eagles were back and forth. And when the Eagles were in the first half of the season, like they were one of the best teams in the NFL, and we were wondering if they were going to make the Super Bowl again this year. So, like, for them to bring everybody back and have a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, the only thing that scares me about the Eagles, though, I felt like I personally felt like Nick Sirianni tried to make too splashy plays at the offensive and defensive coordinators because Vic Fangio's good. It's his hometown team. Great for him. Like, he also sucked with the Dolphins. Wasn't great. All the Dolphins fans were asking him to be fired. And then for Kellen Moore as well, like, Kellen Moore wasn't great with the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and he was fired by the Dallas Cowboys. So it's like, how good is Kellen Moore? And everybody talks about the roster with Kellen Moore, but I just got to see more out of him. But the Eagles, I think they're going to make a way bigger jump than the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl anytime soon with the contracts and stuff that they have going on. So speaking of GMs, which GM in the NFC East has the most pressure this season?
So I'd say all of them, honestly, except Adam Peters, the Commanders GM, because it's his first year. Like, and it's there's still a lot of pressure, but he's like got a lot of wiggle room and everything. But if I had to pick one, I would say that it is Howie Roseman. I mean, he just went from being in the Super Bowl 2 years ago to this embarrassing loss against the Bucs this past season. Like they have a very talented roster, and like they have it almost feels like a win now team. And so for them to start 10-1 and then to just fall off the tracks, like you got to make some sort of move or you got to make some sort of decision that that is going to like hopefully propel them to start off 10-1, but not just fall off the train tracks. And as I've kind of already said, Cowboys just seem destined to just kind of be an embarrassment, at least when it comes to the playoffs. So like I think that their GM is fucked regardless. So
really, Howie Roseman. I actually went with Jerry Jones. So he was blown out by the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. He promises these Cowboy fans that he is trying. He's also on the back end of his ownership. Probably he's probably going to retire in the next 5 years. I would say. I would hope so. He's like 80-some years old. But also, he's got to have a lot of pressure because he's the owner of the team. So it's easy for Jerry Jones, right? Because he's the owner of this team, so he can't fire himself. But for him to get to an age of where he's at, like he said, he wants to watch the Cowboys win another Super Bowl, and they have a lot of work to do to be able to win another Super Bowl. Like, this was the best roster he's probably ever created in the past 10 years for the Dallas Cowboys, and they didn't win a playoff game. So at this point, it's either win it all or nothing, because you have Dak Prescott, who's about to get paid $60 million. You have all of these big contracts on, and you haven't won anything with them. You haven't even reached an NFC Championship game. For the Eagles, Howie Roseman has won a Super Bowl. He was also in a Super Bowl the year before, or the last year. So I feel like Howie Roseman, I trust him more. Which one do you trust the most? Which GM in the NFC East do you trust the most?
I'm Howie Roseman. I think.
So he has the most pressure, but you trust him more.
Yeah, but I think we've just come to a point of Jerry Jones is untouchable. That's my thing. It's he's the owner of the team, like you said. He can't fire himself. And I don't think he has the ego where he's not going to fire himself or step away from that position. I feel like so Howie Roseman, I feel like he's just because of the particular circumstances that he's under more pressure.
Right.
And the city of Philly just expects, Super Bowl or bust kind of out of them at this point. So
yeah, Philly fans are wild, dude. Yeah. They have a lot of expectations. Yeah, probably Howie Roseman, just because he's been there, done that, like maybe Jerry back in the 90s. Right. I also think that it's Adam Peters, right? For the Commanders. Yep. I think he's going to be solid. Like, here's another thing that I don't understand about NFL teams is like, how are you not poaching like these people from these very like great rostered teams who consistently are making the Super Bowl? Like, it feels like it's overthinking a lot. Like, that was the best decision possible. Like, you go to the Niners, you go to the Chiefs, and you say, like, why don't I take someone from, underneath these other GMs? Like, I never understood it. Like, they'll go out and get someone from, like, the Chargers or, like, someone from, I don't know, even like I've seen someone from the Raiders get hired as a GM before too. Tom Telesco, who used to be the Chargers GM, actually went to the Raiders, which is wild to me. It's like, what the hell has he built in LA? Like, where is the resume here? So I just don't understand what some of these teams are thinking. Now, a question with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys: Should the Dallas Cowboys give Dak Prescott $60 million this season as an extension?
Would you? I think they should. And it's tough for me to say that, but the state of which this league is in right now, it's so hard to find like even just a solid quarterback. So I'm a Dak hater, but I also recognize he is a good quarterback. He's calling what you want, a game manager, whatever it is. Like, he is a good quarterback. Like, at one point we were like, at least you were calling him, and I even agree with it to an extent that he should have been the MVP at one point during the season. So it's I guess this is also coming from a point of like I'm in the QB carousel and have been for however many years now. Like, when you find a guy, you should probably stick with him. Like, it's so hard to come by a good quarterback in this league nowadays. So $60 million is steep, but I just feel like
really steep.
That's just what's going to happen now with whenever a above average quarterback like comes to one of these agreement deals, like, or is open for a contract. So.
Yeah, these people hating on Dak are wild. I also don't think the problem with the Cowboys is Dak Prescott. Like, I feel like he elevated them to a different level, and it wasn't. I mean, kind of was his fault they lost in the playoffs, but I feel like he'll be able to bounce back from that at some point. Like, some quarterbacks just, what else is crazy to me about these quarterbacks and how people talk about them, like, including myself, and I took a step back and realized, like, if you're not Russell Wilson, who else has won a Super Bowl? Joe Flacco, Patrick Mahomes, whoever else, I think there's like 6 or 7. Matt Stafford. Like, if you're not one of those quarterbacks who has won a Super Bowl, like, you're not good. Like, that's how you're seen in this league. And it's like, well, there's only like 7 active quarterbacks who's won the Super Bowl. So you're telling me Joe Flacco is on the tip top, Russell Wilson is on the tip top of your list just because they haven't made a Super Bowl in whenever. So, like, I just don't understand. Even Jalen Hurts, like, he made the Super Bowl, and now we're talking about him being outside the top 10. Like, come the fuck on. Like, what do these quarterbacks have to do other than a Super Bowl? I don't think people realize how hard it is to actually win a Super Bowl. Like, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Like, Big Ben only has 2 Super Bowls. He was great. Russell Wilson only has 1, and he was in his prime at one point. Like, it's really hard. Like, I feel like these Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady's really take your mind to a different level. And it's like, if you're not one of those quarterbacks, like, you're not good at all, which is wild. But Dak had an MVP season, and I mean, the cap is only going up from here. Like, it's going to be projected to be $250 million this season, which is insane. It was only supposed to be like 243. So a $7 million jump, that's a lot. So the NFL is growing. It's going to keep growing. So if you pay him now, like, it's going to be cheaper down the line. Like, that's what a lot of people tried to do with their quarterbacks. They tried to extend them early, like with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. They got it done right away. He actually started the trend of all these quarterbacks getting paid. Like, he got Joe Burrow paid. He got Lamar Jackson paid. Like, And at some point, it's like you have to pay them. So it's like you can't just, and there's been like conspiracies about people saying like, well, you should just get a quarterback every 4 years. Like that shit doesn't work. The shit doesn't fucking grow on trees.
Trust me, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. Like if people could do it, they would do it. So, and Patrick Mahomes also proved that you can have a high salary cap and still win. You can still manipulate the cap. Like the cap is manipulated, and the Rams did it. The Chiefs have done it. Like Tom Brady used to do it. He is the only player that I know has taken a pay cut like in their career, and like that's just not going to happen anymore.
Wait, didn't Aaron Rodgers so he could get his guys this year?
Yeah, he gave the Jets a hometown discount, I guess. Yeah. But Aaron Rodgers also is trying to play his nice guy because he's always
still
in the media.
Era,
yeah.
He was new to town. Like he was like, you know what? I'll take a little pay cut.
Yeah, and then
but it's also so I can get my guys and be happy. So
like Randall Cobb, David Bakhtiari, already
Lazard,
a Jet. Already a Jet.
Yeah.
Speaking of quarterbacks, which quarterback should the Washington Commanders take with the 2nd overall pick? I'll let you go first, Mr. Commanders fan. Who have you fallen in love with?
So, as I said earlier, it seems like the Bears are taking Caleb Williams. That seems like a lock. I would like us to take Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
But what I will say is that, there's only really 2 options here, Drake May or Jaden Daniels.
J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, okay. And that's
could go with him.
My heart and where I've been at is Jaden Daniels, but as I mentioned earlier, Colin Cowherd actually was on there and said, first of all, he predicted that we would win the division next year.
I did see that shit.
Yeah. But what he said is that we're going to draft Drake May, and he said that he is the next Justin Herbert. Is exactly what he said.
Okay.
And I'm not very high on Justin Herbert, but like he's a pretty solid quarterback.
Yeah.
So
you take him right now.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Yeah.
So my heart is still with Jaden Daniels, but at this point, maybe I wouldn't mind Drake May. But also, it's just like Sam Howell is a North Carolina quarterback too. So, I feel like it's bad voodoo to just like take two back-to-back starting quarterbacks in North Carolina. I think I'm at a point where I want us to have a mobile quarterback. So that's why I think that they should take Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I think that the Washington Commanders should take Jaden Daniels. I don't even think it's here's my thing about evaluating quarterbacks, and I'm not an evaluator of quarterbacks, but I have said that Jordan Love and Justin Herbert were going to be great. So I have a little bit of knowledge behind this stuff. So first of all, how do you watch a player like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, even Joe Burrow at some points, like be able to maneuver in the pocket? I know Drake May does, but Jaden Daniels is on an elite level with his legs and his arm. He won the Heisman Trophy. Like we forget about that. Like he was the best player in college football last season. And yet we're questioning if it should be him or Drake May. He's also a senior in college, has more experience than Drake May. Like he is way more talented in throwing the football. He doesn't turn the ball over as much as Drake May does. And he plays against SEC, the SEC. It was the same thing with the Deshaun Watson and the Daniel Jones and all that, like all those type of quarterbacks. Like it's like people were overthinking. Now Deshaun had his issues, okay? But when he came out, like top 10 quarterback immediately. And it's like, he won the Heisman Trophy. He beat Alabama in the college football playoffs in the national championship. It's like, what else can this guy do? And he went, 10th or 12th or whatever it was. And it's like, you're overthinking this. Like, he's great with his legs, really talented arm, and he's also won every accolade that you can think of. Like, in LSU, completely changed around their program because they were starting to go downhill. And then Jaden Daniels came in, and they were a good team. Like, they lost some games, but, like, he's raw. And you can change him or direct him into a good direction of being a great two-way quarterback or whatever you say, whatever, running and passing quarterback. A dual threat quarterback, yes. I would personally like a running quarterback in the NFL these days. Like I just would rather have someone that's more raw, like an Anthony Richardson, than I would with a shorter guy in Bryce Young. Like it's even before the draft, like people were questioning about Bryce Young's size. Like, come on, like we all knew what was going to happen with that situation as well. Okay, so another team in the NFC East is the Giants, who have a quarterback situation. Should the Giants take a quarterback in the NFL draft this season?
So that they have an opt out with Daniel Jones, right, on his
Yes,
contract.
I think next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on this is that if
They could extend him.
yeah, I think you know what I think he's gonna have an MVP type season this upcoming. Kidding, absolutely kidding.
Like you were being dead ass for a second. I was about to put you on all social media platforms and be like, what does everybody think about Dan? You know what's funny? I saw a tweet that said Daniel Jones had a MVP season from a Giants fan. This was legit. I thought it was bait. Okay. Now I went through comments and he was fighting everybody on this. The year that Daniel Jones made the playoffs, he said that he had an MVP type season. What are your thoughts on that? Did you think that he had an MVP? Like, hold on. I got to look up Daniel Jones stats from that season. So in 2022, which is the year that he said that he had an MVP type season, he had 15 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 3,200 yards passing.
Dog, he's not even the person I would give the MVP to on his team. Like Saquon Barkley was by far the best player on that team that year.
I don't know where that came from. Like it was weird. Okay, I'm just glad that you're not on the train of he's actually like people actually think that. So
no, I'm a delusional Commanders fan, but I'm not a delusional Giants fan. So
did he have a lot of rushing touchdowns or anything? Like 2022, he had 7 rushing touchdowns.
He's kind of a dog on the ground. Like I'll give them that, but like otherwise, like no, he's I don't even know if I want to call him an average quarterback, to be honest. But so I think 100% if Jane Daniels or Drake May falls to the Giants at 6, that they should draft him, because I don't know what the quarterbacks look like next draft. I know fucking Shador Sanders is coming in or whatever,
Shador Sanders.
Shador Sanders is probably going to be like the most wanted guy or whatever, but I don't know after that who else is going to be next up. So I mean this is a solid at least top 3 guys. So if one of those top 3 fall to you, I don't know how you could pass them up in the current situation that they're in.
Yeah, so I'm back and forth on this. So I think that the Giants should take a quarterback if one of those 3 quarterbacks falls to them. What I'm scared about with the Giants is that they will reach and take a JJ McCarthy, or maybe I wouldn't hate that. I love Michael Penix, so I'd love them taking Michael Penix, but they could trade back up in the draft and get Michael Penix. I think he's going to fall off some draft boards just because of the college football national championship. He's another guy where it's like, why are you overthinking this guy? Like, but he will fall, so it might be a reach. But I think if one of those 3 guys are not on the board, they shouldn't do it. They have Daniel Jones for another season. He's coming off injury. You give him a chance to prove himself, then you have the opt-out. So that's the only scenario that I can see, because the Giants are not a plug-and-play quarterback away from being a great team. They're about to lose Saquon Barkley, who would be a phenomenal, phenomenal weapon for the rookie quarterback coming in. And then they have no wide receivers. They have Jalen Hyatt as their number 1 wide receiver. Their offensive line's a mess. Their defense is a mess. Like, if you bring a quarterback in, it's another Bryce Young situation. So it's like, why not have Daniel Jones, build around Daniel Jones, see how he does, have the talent, cut Daniel Jones the next season, and take one of the quarterbacks. Because if you don't have one of the top 3 guys, like, you're not getting a special guy. Yeah. So it's like, unless you fall in love with someone, I'm scared they're going to do the same thing what they did with Daniel Jones that season, which was take him at number 6.
Yeah. No, I honestly, in their current situation, probably the smart move, and that's maybe even regardless of if one of these guys falls to him, is to take probably like one of the top offensive linemen in the draft this year. Because I mean, no, I still don't believe in Daniel Jones, even if he has a solid offensive line. But like, I feel like he's never had one. Right. If I'm being real, and they paid him all that money, and I know that, like you said, they have the opt out, but at least I know build around him a little bit. Yeah. Like, he hasn't had a number 1 wide receiver since fucking I don't know.
He's never had
tell you
one.
who the best wide receiver he's had.
Darius Slayton.
Probably, yeah. Like Sterling Sharp or not
Sterling Shepard.
Shepard, yeah. Before he like had all his injuries and shit.
Right.
But, yeah, other than that, and then Saquon Barkley, like, that's all he's had to rely on, and like you can't win games or be a really good quarterback if you're only relying on your running back.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of Saquon Barkley, should the Cowboys sign Saquon Barkley? Because there's been a lot of talk about the Cowboys going after a big free agent running back. So do you think Saquon Barkley, first of all, he'd be a great fit. We all know that. But should that be a priority for the Dallas Cowboys? I feel like they might take a big swing here.
It's this one's tough for me. I think Dallas needs to focus on their defense, if I'm being honest. Because if we look at it, like Tony Pollard did not live up to the expectations that we thought he would. Like I thought he was gonna. I'm gonna be honest. I took him really early in some of my fantasy drafts because I thought after seeing what he did backing up Zeke that he was gonna be like a top 5 running back this year.
Right.
So he just hasn't worked out, whether that's his fault or not. And like so, Dallas still had a solid offense, except in the playoff game, like without a good run game. So I think they need to focus on defense. But if they're able to build some pieces on defense, they get back like Trayvon Diggs, who I think is a little bit overrated. I will get to that.
He is overrated.
But if they can retain some of the guys like Stephon Gilmore, I don't know how much that would they'd have to pay him or whatever. But if they can make a couple moves on defense and get some solid guys, then sure, take a swing at Saquon Barkley because I think that Dak can really benefit from a solid running game. And maybe it's not the running back's fault, but Saquon Barkley is a top 5 running back in this league. So absolutely, take a swing at him. Why not?
I don't know. So like you said about Saquon Barkley, like how they have to make other moves and then go after Saquon Barkley. If you haven't noticed, I've done a lot of research on cap space. I've mentioned that a lot just because I was so interested in it and how it works. And I looked at a lot of the team's cap situation, especially the NFC East, and the Dallas Cowboys are $21 million over the cap like this season. So they can make a lot of moves and make it happen. Like you can manipulate it. Like once they re-sign Dak Prescott, they're going to have $21 million back, and then they can cut some guys like Leighton Vander Esch, like I mentioned before. But the thing is, like, why would you go after a running back instead of trying to go after a cornerback, which they probably need, a defensive tackle, which they probably need, a linebacker, which they probably need? I understand, like, taking a big swing and people wanting that because I feel like he would bring another dynamic to the offense. But like you said, it wasn't even the offense. It was the defense that lost them that game. Like, if they made a couple stops on Jordan Love, like, they win that game because Dak Prescott would be able to make those mistakes and come back and learn from it and be able to get into a groove. They were getting into a groove late in the game. So I just don't see where the fit is with Saquon. I mean, it's a fit, right? But cap situation-wise, it doesn't really make any sense. So talking about the Eagles with Kellen Moore, we talked about a little bit. Do you think Kellen Moore is a good fit with the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm going to say no. I don't actually think he's a good fit for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he's 100% an upgrade from Brian Johnson. I think Brian Johnson was the Eagles' kryptonite completely. I think he was the biggest arrow in the heel for him. Like he was terrible as a play caller for the Eagles this past year. My thing is, I don't think the way that Kellen Moore, like he was with Dallas, they threw the ball a lot. Went to the Chargers, he threw the ball a lot. I just don't feel like this Eagles team should be a pass-first sort of team. Like, I think Jalen Hurts is capable of doing it, but I don't think that fits his play style whatsoever. Right. Like, I think the Eagles are a run-the-ball-first sort of team, and that's just the way that they're built right now. So I don't think he's a good fit, but I think he's an upgrade from what they had. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's an okay fit. Like I said, I think they were just trying to take big swings at that point, like just to say to the Eagles fan base and for Nick Sirianni, like he was on the hot seat, like it's for him to come back and say, hey, I tried, like I brought in these big time coordinators. I haven't seen Kellen Moore with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. Like I haven't seen him with a mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts. So I don't know what to expect. Like he's he's great with the run. He's very balanced. So I'm just curious on how he's going to use Jalen Hurts. So I think it's an okay fit. I didn't think it was the best coordinator they could have gotten. I just felt like that Nick Sirianni was like, whatever, I'm going to lose my job if I don't make a run in the playoffs next season. So talking about the Eagles too, Chris Sims said Jalen Hurts is the most overrated player in the NFL. We'll give our overrated players, but I want your thoughts. Do you agree in some sort that he is an overrated player, or do you think it was a little bit of a reach for that?
I think it's a bit of a reach. It's like I don't get it. Like he just led him to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then he led him to 10-1 this past year. Like, right. And that's people were. I mean, I don't know what Chris Sims' opinions on it, but like you had opinions on Brock Purdy. And like you're saying, he's overrated, but like I don't even think Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy are really comparable. Like Jalen Hurts is in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in this league. Like, and I think a majority of the fan base, even if you're not an Eagles fan, would agree with that. Like, he is undoubtedly a very, very good quarterback
and a great leader. Like, you can't teach that stuff. I felt like, you know, like we said, I personally feel like there are other quarterbacks that are way more overrated than Jalen Hurts. I feel like he's been doubted his entire career. Like, I've never seen, like, I've seen people put him in their top 5, like, as he deserved last season. He obviously fell out of that this season, but, like, you know, I just feel like he's very much rated exactly where he's supposed to be based off of his performance. Like, nobody was calling him top 5 this season. Like, nobody was saying, like, oh yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback. Like, I never saw that this year. So I'm not sure. So who is the most overrated player in the NFL? In your opinion? So
in my opinion, I got 2 here. So, you know, my true number 1, I'm gonna go with Jamal Adams. Okay. I think he is the most, like, talked up, like, oh, he's so good, but he's mid. First of all, he can't stay on the field. He's hurt all the time. But, you know, you also have to, like, everyone's going to want to hear the quarterback that I think. And before I saw the Colin Cowherd clip, I was going to say Justin Herbert. But, you know, if we draft Drake May, that's
you gotta love Justin Herbert.
Next incarnation of Justin Herbert. So I got to love him. So I'm going to say Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is, like, he was very good his rookie season. I can't even remember if
he had a good season. I can't remember if it was the year after or whatever when they made the playoffs.
Maybe this just plays into his injury factor and everything. But it's just like he can't stay on the field right now, and he's in a tough situation. So it may be a little fucked up that I'm saying this, but I've never really believed in Kyler Murray, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like he doesn't get the scrutiny that he should just because he is in Arizona. And, like, nobody talks about Arizona. Like, they suck. Like, but Kyler Murray hasn't done anything in this league, and he was a number 1 overall pick. I have another number 1 overall pick that I think is the most overrated player in the NFL. It's Trevor Lawrence. I think that Trevor Lawrence is the most overrated player in the NFL because what the hell has he done in this league? Because he was the most generational quarterback that we've ever seen. He was the best thing that we've seen since Peyton Manning. He was a great dual threat quarterback who could do it with his legs. Let me tell you something about Trevor Lawrence. He has had 2 out of his 3 seasons he's been in the NFL and a full-time starter, he has had 13 or more interceptions. Also, he has had 7 or more fumbles the past 2 seasons. He is a turnover machine, and we don't talk about it. He is a poor man's Josh Allen. That's exactly what he is. And the reason why he doesn't get scrutiny either is because he's in Jacksonville. And it's like, why? Like, he was one of the most highly rated quarterbacks that we've ever seen. I have not seen him do a thing with his legs except for every time that I see him try to run the ball, he fumbles. So I don't understand. And then people I saw a Jaguars fan come after me because he was talking about Lamar Jackson or whatever. And I was like, you have Trevor Lawrence. And he's like, well, I'd take Trevor Lawrence over Lamar Jackson. I could name you 10 quarterbacks better than Trevor Lawrence, which is crazy considering that he was one of the most generational players of all time. And everybody talks about the playoffs last year where he won that game against Justin Herbert and came back from 27-0. Other than that, he has not accomplished anything in his career, and he's never even thrown for over 30 touchdowns in a season. So I got to go with Trevor Lawrence in that. All right, let's take a break.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, I feel like he's getting, like, a little bit of leniency because of, like, that disaster of a coach that he had.
Urban Meyer.
Yeah, but, like, how many years is
he going to get?
Yeah,
how long has it been?
Been 2 years since that?
Yeah, it was his rookie season.
Yeah, so I feel like he's just still getting like a bonus year to, like, prove himself, but. No, that's a solid choice right there.
I'm telling you, all these quarterbacks and all these players, like, I swear to God, if I was in the NFL, like, I would want to go to one of these places because I'm not getting scrutinized. When the hell do you ever hear about Jacksonville on any of these big networks except for when they're doing well and they're a feel-good story? That's the only time you ever hear about them. It's the same shit with Joe Burrow. Like, he's in fucking Cincinnati. I was going to put him on here, but I left him off. But Joe Burrow is very overrated. I've said it multiple times. All right, so let's take a break and play some games. So I want you to predict the next 10 Super Bowl winners.
The next 10. Oof. All right. So next year.
2025.
Yeah, we'll call it 2025. Yeah. All right. So Next year, 2025, I am going to say that the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Next year, or 2026, I'm going to say the Lions win the Super Bowl. After that, I think the Chiefs are going to come back and they're going to get another one.
Okay.
In 2028, I think that the Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, with my guy Justin Herbert, are going to win a Super Bowl. The following year, 2029, I think that the Houston Texans, led by C.J. Stroud in his MVP season, is going to win a Super Bowl. In 2030, the new decade, I'm calling it that Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are going to win a Super Bowl.
There it is.
And following that, I think it could happen even sooner than this, but I think in 2031 that the Atlanta Falcons,
there it is.
They're finally going to find their quarterback, and they're going to win a Super Bowl.
There it is.
Now we're going to get off the rails here a little bit. Because in 2032, the Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young, if he's still alive.
No way. I swear to God, if they win a Super Bowl in the next 10 years, I'll bet they don't win a Super Bowl in the next 10 years. I will bet you we'll do the Mountain Dew. I'll give you 10 cases of Diet Mountain Dew or whatever. Fucking, we'll do the same shit Skip Bayless and fucking Shannon Sharp used to do. Instead of money, we'll do your favorite. Or you like those zero fucking root beers. So I'll give you those. Yep. Okay. So Panthers.
All right. Now 2033. Damn, it's weird saying this.
I know.
I am calling.
We're gonna be like 33 years old.
I'm calling it that Caleb Williams is gonna be a bust, but they're gonna find another quarterback, and the Chicago Bears are gonna win the Super Bowl. 2034. It's finally gonna happen. The fucking Washington Commanders are gonna win a Super Bowl.
Come on, man.
You know, I gotta hope for something. This is 10 years later.
Yeah.
I had to throw them in there at some point. I mean, I got to see it in my lifetime at some point, you know?
What year was that?
2034.
2034. All right, one more. 2035.
This was a tough one for me. But you know what? Patrick Mahomes is still going to be playing.
He forgot to put 2035 and said, I'm going to get the Chiefs.
So how old would Patrick Mahomes be in 2035? He's 28 right now.
He's going to be like 40? So, no, I'm bad at math. 38? No, 10 years from now. He'll be 38. He'll be 38.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to say that. So who's in the league right now? I'm going to say that. I'm going to say Tom Brady's kid is going to get drafted, and whatever team he's on is going to win the Super Bowl.
All right, so Tom Brady's kid wins the 2035 Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so for mine, I'm going to predict the next 10 years of Super Bowl winners. In 2025, I did say that I thought the Detroit Lions were going to win next year. I'm changing my mind because this is the only time. It's destiny. The Baltimore Ravens are winning the 2025 Super Bowl. It's going to fucking happen. One of these fucking days, I'm going to see it again. In 2026, the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl. 2027, Kansas City goes back and wins it again. We had some of similar teams in here. In 2028, Josh Allen finally gets it done, and he gets his first Super Bowl championship with the Buffalo Bills. In 2029, finally, the Jordan Love era, I will celebrate like it's a Ravens Super Bowl. Jordan Love will win his first Super Bowl in 2029. In 2030, the Kansas City Chiefs do it again, and then they do it again in 2031. So they go back-to-back championships. And then in 2032, the San Francisco 49ers finally figure it out, and they get the quarterback. They get a high draft pick at some point in between those because they completely fall off the rails after they have to pay all these guys, and they finally get their guy. In 2033, the Atlanta Falcons, the team that is destined to win a Super Bowl in the next 10 years, they're going to win in 2033. In 2034, the Dallas Cowboys are going to finally win a Super Bowl, and then Jerry Jones sells the team, and it's over from there.
I thought you were going to say he dies.
No. I almost did, but then I was like, I'll be nice. He's going to retire that year, and he's going to go out a champion. In 2035, the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud get it done. I think in his 10th year in the league, he will get a Super Bowl championship in Houston. So, yeah, very interesting. Tom Brady's kid. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, so I had a couple more questions for you. So pay or not pay. So I have some quarterbacks that I've listed that I want you to tell me if you would pay them or not pay them. So let's start out with Baker Mayfield.
And these are all their current situations?
Yeah, current situations.
I'm going to say pay.
Okay, pay. Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to say pay. I think Justin Jefferson really wants Kirk Cousins to come back.
Okay, all right. Dak Prescott.
I mean, I guess I have to say what I said earlier, and I'm going to say pay.
Okay. What about Tua Tagovailoa with Miami?
I don't think I'm personally there yet, but I stand on if you have a decent quarterback, you got to stay with him. So I'm going to say pay.
Fuck no. I'm not paying Tua Tagovailoa. Justin Fields.
I think they should. I don't think they're going to.
What would you even pay him?
I don't know, because he's like, I don't know. That's a tough one because he hasn't really proved anything. If I'm going to be honest, but like he also hasn't had the situation to do anything. Like I think the talent is there, but I'm going to say not pay.
Okay, Brock Purdy.
I'm going to say pay.
I knew you were going to say pay.
I think you can get him for pretty.
You're throwing a lot of money at these quarterbacks. Jared Goff.
Pay.
Wow. Okay, I would pay Baker. I would pay Kirk. I would pay Dak. I would not pay Tua. I would not pay Justin Fields. I would not pay Brock Purdy yet. I have to see what he does next season. And I would pay Jared Goff. That's the order that I would go. But by the way, if you were an NFL player and you got a $100 million contract, what would be the first thing you would buy?
I've never really thought about this. So this is right off the dome. I'm gonna say I'm buying a boat. I'm buying a sick-ass boat.
That's a really good choice.
I really had a lot of them, but I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm buying a big-ass boat that's got a fucking
Would you live
helicopter
on
pad on it. I might. During the off
just
season,
make it a house?
I might put it like a turf field on it so I can just practice there.
That'd be a good
train right there, put some weights on it. I mean,
and then you can travel all across the world.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude. There was I worked at the Hyatt Regency in Cambridge, and there was a time. This was before you worked there. I was a lifeguard there when I was 16, and Steve Bisciotti rented out the entire place, and he brought out his yacht. And the thing about his yacht, it is so big that he has to time the tide, because if it's a certain way or it's not high enough or something, the boat will actually not be able to sit on a dock. So it would have to be a perfect week for him to come there. It was absolutely nuts. It had like 20 bedrooms, like fucking stacked out. And I'm like, why are you even like doing a wedding here? Like, just do it on the boat. Yeah. Like, I think the first thing that I would buy though, this one's really hard. I mean, a house is easy, a car is easy, right? But I don't like value like I feel like if I was an NFL player, like I wouldn't value a nice car. Like I'm not that type of person. That maybe a nice truck or I wouldn't go out and buy like a Ferrari or like something insane like that. But I think that I would probably maybe real estate, maybe, you know what? I'd open my own pizza shop. Because I think a pizza shop. I've really like fallen it like ever since I started watching like Dave Portnoy's like pizza reviews and stuff. And man, like I would fucking love to own like a really good pizza shop that everybody knows about. But I don't want one of those like pizza shops like LeBron where like it's just the name. Like I want like a staple. Like after I'm retired, like even not during football, like people are like, I want to go to Matt King's like pizzeria. Like that would be really fucking cool. And then also, if you were an NFL player, would you prioritize money or rings? Now, let's say it's later in your career. You've made some money. Let's say you haven't got a $100 million contract. Let's say like you were like a wide receiver that had one big contract. Like at that point, you haven't won a Super Bowl. Would you prioritize the ring or Super Bowls?
Ring, 100%.
I
think that's not even a question for me because it's. If I'm being honest, like this obviously I wouldn't be an accountant if I was, but I've like always been like very conscious about my money. So like I'm making millions of dollars, yes, but still it's like you see it, and it's unfortunate because you see a lot of NFL players that go broke afterwards.
Did you see Adrian Peterson?
Uh-uh.
He's selling his MVP trophies, All of his trophies,
Oh, wow.
like everything, memorabilia that he has, like it's all for sale. He sold his real estate. Like
So that's
he's
why
broke.
That's why he fought Le'Veon Bell in that boxing match.
Yeah,
a couple years
probably.
ago.
Which is crazy. He played. Maybe that's why he played for so damn long.
Yeah.
I thought someone like Adrian Peterson, like a Frank Gore, would be really
Yeah.
good with their money.
But as you said with your answer earlier, like I'm buying a shit ton of real estate, like I'm having a ton of rental properties, like I'm investing my money smartly. Like I'm
Right.
gonna have with the couple of millions, it could even just be like 10 million that I made over my career or whatever. Like I'm gonna be able to invest that and live comfortably for the rest of my life. So
Right.
I'm 100% like there's tons of millionaires in this world, like there's not tons of Super Bowl winners in this world.
Yeah.
Like that to me is worth more than probably millions of dollars. Like
How would you feel if you signed with a team thinking that, like the Chiefs, like let's say it's your final year, like you can barely walk. Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, went back to back. You go and sign there, and they don't win. Are you going to try to come back and play?
what position do I play?
Let's say offensive line. Like let's say you're like Jason Kelsey.
Yeah. See, that's
Like let's
tough.
say you were Jason Kelsey right now and you haven't won the Super Bowl.
I don't know. It's because it's so hard. Like it's so hard to predict a team that's going to go and win the Super
I
Bowl.
know.
Like it's so even for somebody like the Chiefs, like it's they went back to back, but like how often does that happen?
Right.
And it's a three-peat has never happened. So it's like I think at that point, especially with like family involved and everything like that, like I'm calling it quits. Like
Yeah.
we've all like at least we've both seen the Kelsey documentary. Like he's can barely
barely
like walk
walk.
anymore. Like he's having a really tough time, and like I want to be there for my kids and stuff like that, and be able to throw a football with them and stuff. So 100%, I think I'm calling it quits at that point.
Yeah, I think I would prioritize a ring, but it's so easy to like say that as like we sit here, right? Because a lot of like NBA player, I don't know if you saw the reason why I brought this up is an NBA player said that I don't know why people prioritize the rings. Like people think like players prioritize rings. Like I prioritize the money. And then he's like, if I want to go get a championship, I'm gonna just force my way out right after. It was like a retired NBA player. I can't remember who it was, but he said that's what I would do. He said I would just get paid by somebody and then force my way out and go to a good team at that point. And I'm like, that's really smart. But the NBA is also more player friendly than the NFL is. Like you can't really just force a trade out in the NFL, which I think the NBA is getting ruined from the players having so much control. Like it's just have you watched an NBA game this season?
Nope.
Did you watch All-Star Weekend?
Nope.
I didn't watch one fucking thing of All-Star Weekend. I did see that Steph Curry went against some girl. I don't know who she was, and I apologize for that. But apparently she's a really good three-point shooter.
Yeah.
And she had, I think Curry only beat her by like 2 points.
Yeah.
She shot from the NBA three-point line. Like she said, I'm not doing it. So I wish I knew her name. But
Oh, so she shot? 'Cause
Yeah,
they were
from
going
the
to let her
NBA
shoot
line.
from the WNBA line.
yeah, she shot from the NBA
Wow.
line. She said that she wanted to shoot from the NBA line.
Damn.
And
No, I think
scored
she- I think
26.
I think she scored like 26, 27.
Yeah.
Curry only scored 28, 29.
Yeah,
so.
he had to like get the
Kudos to
final
her.
2 balls
Yeah.
to be able to do it. That was wild. I did see that the NBA like All-Star Weekend was a complete fucking shit show. I don't know what they would do. What would you do with the NBA All-Star game? Because like I don't know if you saw it, but Anthony Edwards, he's shot the ball left-handed like the entire game. I don't know that. He said he was. And then in pregame warmups, he was shooting left-handed. I think he actually didn't take it serious. Luka said not Luka, maybe it was Anthony Edwards also said he's there for just a break and they don't care about the game. But all these like legends like care about the game.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I don't really.
Well, there's that. I've seen it recirculate because of all the issues that people have with the All-Star game. Is Kobe talking about how much of a joke it was, and that was, I think he said that back in like 2008. So
Yeah.
it's been like this for a good while now. Like
It shouldn't be like I get that people want it competitive, and then everybody's like, "Well, let's look at the MLB All-Star Game." And I'm like, the MLB is easier. You don't get hurt as much. Like it's really hard to get hurt in baseball unless you're sliding and stuff. Like you can prevent injuries a little bit easier. Like if you're in the outfield running, like you take your time, like instead of that. But it's more competitive because players only get like an inning of pitching and all that stuff. Like in the NBA and the NFL, like the NFL had to go to a flag football game. Yeah. Obviously, it's impossible to fix that. Like if someone has a good idea on how to fix that, let me know. But like the flag football is not bad. It's not great. Like I think in general, like I think they should just get recognized and just have a break. Like at that point, because nobody gives a shit. It's a money grab at this point.
I don't think there is really any way to fix it. There's just how to mitigate it pretty much. And I think they've realized that like they're not getting as many viewers as they used to. So at this point, I think you just take all the risk out of it pretty much. And like flag football, yes, it's much less risky, but like you can still make a cut and one of these guys could tear his ACL. So I'm almost with you there. I definitely don't watch it. Like, and I know that the viewership is not what it used to be, at least like when Sean Taylor was fucking knocking out punters and stuff like that. Like when the guys actually played in like Pro Bowl games and stuff. So I at this point, like I don't care for it. Like I don't ever tune into them. Like the skill stuff like during the NFL is kind of cool, but like some of them are like kind of dumb too. Like,
did you see the long snapping one?
Yeah.
Do you think you could have done that?
I think I could have.
If you don't know, he was a long snapper in college.
That's I'm not doing the Jason Kelce strategy where
he went straight for the
5-pointer the whole time. Like I'm racking up the ones like the entire time. I think I definitely could have done that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's end it off like this. Who is going to win the NFC East? And give me your order from 1 to 4.
From 1 to 4. So you want me to say the winner first?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that
the Washington Commanders are gonna win.
I'll do it for the clip. I'll do it for the clip. I will. I'll get flamed for it. All right. I'm gonna say that the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are gonna win the NFC East next year. I'm gonna say that the Washington Commanders are gonna finish second. I am.
Holy fuck.
I have high hopes.
Come on, dude.
I have high hopes.
There were people flaming you already for wearing that fucking Washington Commanders fucking sweatshirt.
Hey, I don't read the comments, so I don't care. I don't care.
I get them all notified to my phone. Okay, and then
Cowboys and Giants.
Cowboys and Giants. Okay, I will go the Philadelphia Eagles as well, and I'll go the New York now. I'll go the Dallas Cowboys. I will do it. New York Giants at 3rd and the Washington Commanders at 4. The only reason is because they're going to have a rookie quarterback. They do have a lot of cap space, though. And I could see the New York Giants getting a receiver for Daniel Jones and running it back with him. If they don't get Saquon Barkley, I'll change my mind. But so I'll go that direction as well. But anyway, thank you guys for listening to the Off Script podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Matthew King. This is Jake Morris. Thank you guys for subscribing. If you guys could and you like the episode and you like the content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It will pop up right here, I believe. I'll try and put my finger underneath of it. Make sure you like and hit the notification button as well. We are going to do every single division over the next couple weeks. If you guys know of anybody who you guys would like to bring on the podcast, we would love to have guests on as well, preferably in the Baltimore area, but we can do virtual as well. And we are also potentially looking for a 3rd person to join the podcast as well, so we can have more debates, more fun, more people, always better. And thank you guys for listening, and we hope you have a great rest of your week, and go Commanders.
They know that I'm him, all of this time in the gym. Shots don't never touch the rim. They know that I'm him, got the defensive overwhelm. Do they know highlights of them? They know that I'm him. Don't believe me, check the film. Ayy, any court in any field. Ayy, yeah, I'm Hall of Fame for real. They know that I'm him, all of this time in the gym. Shots don't never touch the rim. They know that I'm him, got the defensive overwhelm. Do they know highlights of them? They know that I'm him. Don't believe me, check the film. Ayy, any court in any field. Ayy, yeah, I'm Hall of Fame for real. They know that I'm him. It's Timothy. Ay. Opponents might call me Himothy, aka Mr. Go switch up your energy. I join the team and increase all the chemistry. Wait, the odds playing baseball, I make